So I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the TTKs in Warzone 2 being significantly faster than they ever were within Warzone 1. So I thought I'd take a look at the old Warzone meta. I reached out to Warzone Ranked and they were able to hook me up with this graph so we can kind of see a live look at how the metas rotated over the year. And typically some of the fastest guns, or at least the practical TTKs, are generally the meta. Warzone 1 didn't come out till Season 2. M4A1 was the most used weapon at 22%. And you can kind of see how that carried on. Over here, 18%, a little bit less because they introduced the Growl. And then we also had the AMAX that got introduced, but that was a little bit of a higher skill weapon. You can kind of go season over season over season. And we didn't get a health increase until much later into Warzone 1's life cycle, towards the end over here, when we tend to see a lot of snipers take over, with the Swiss and the Kar 98 being some of the best long-range weapons. But one of the weapons that stayed dominant for the longest was a close-range weapon that everyone knew and loved as the MP5. See, it pretty much shows up in almost every season. If I actually extended the ranking at the top, you would actually see significantly more. You can see it was over here with the MP7. MP7 gets a nerf, or everyone transitions to using the MP5, and it carries over. Look at how dominant the MP5 is, one of the best close-range options, until we have some shotguns, broken MAC-10. So overall, I looked at the first year of Warzone 1 and kind of looked at a meta by meta basis, kind of look at what the TTKs look like throughout the year. And with my spreadsheet, I was able to look at the original values. I was either able to look at myself, exclusive A's, true game data, someone who covered the specific weapon at or around the time that it was meta, to get the overall data points of what that weapon looked like at the time that it was meta. Not the current one, because obviously it's been nerfed into the ground, or it got buffed up and it was significantly worse in the beginning. So I kind of looked at that value, plugged it into here to get an idea of where that would put the TTK. And this also includes Season 1 DMR of Cold War, as well as the MAC-10. Even though those weren't hard metas for the entire season, because they got nerfed rather quickly because they were broken, they were for about a week and a half the most used weapon in all of Warzone's existence because of how broken they were. And then the MAC-10, this is specifically the blueprint version that was bugged, that had way more damage, and that gave you a completely broken TTK. Before I go over the results, comment down below. What do you think? Do you think the long range meta was faster in the first year of Warzone 1 or 2? Same thing goes for the close range meta. Which do you think is faster? Warzone 1 or Warzone 2? And then go back and edit that comment if you were surprised by the results, or was it kind of what you expected? So what we can look at is the long range TTKs of the M4. It has a rate of fire of 845, and its practical shots to kill at range was 10, because it did a little bit above 25 damage. It took you right around 10 shots to kill on a practical sense if you got at least one headshot in the mix, which brings your practical TTK to 639, which is actually kind of fast when you think about it, because towards the end of Warzone, when we had the extra health, everything got nerfed into the ground, we were looking right around 900 for those TTKs, so significantly slower. But the beginning of Warzone, that was the quote-unquote meta, along with the Growl. Bruin kind of slipped in there, which killed a little bit faster, but right around 600 to 700 milliseconds. Then we got to the DMR towards the second year of Warzone. It was 278, completely broken, 170 plus damage to the head, 60 plus to the body, if I recall off memory. And it allowed you to get 3 shots to kill most of the time. If you got double headshot, it would be a 2-shot to kill even faster than that. When it comes to the close range meta, we started off with the MP7, which I think is a very, very, very balanced TTK at 558. And this is the close range TTKs. See, the rate of fires are pretty fast, and the shots to kill are 10, 8, all the way down for the MP5. And then the MAC-10, which was utterly broken, had 1100 RPM with 8 shots to kill, and a ridiculously fast TTK, which got fixed immediately. Like 1 week, they fixed both of those because how broken they were. But I think Raven was already starting to take over by that point, so patches were a little bit faster in the second year of Warzone. And we take a look at that in comparison to the long range meta now. We have the RPK, which is easily the most used weapon. We had Warzone Ranked able to see the API. I would imagine that the RPK is one of the most used weapons across the board, no contest. And that has a practical TTK of 600, shots to kill 7, but the rate of fire is only 600, which is a little bit slower. It's a little bit harder to use. The bullet velocities aren't quite as good as they were back then. So it's kind of one of those ones where if you do miss a shot, you do get a realistic TTK. So RPK, even though its TTK says 600, it's still right within reason for long range TTKs. TAC 56 is a little bit slower, which is a perfect TTK for long range. And then the Kastov 762, which works a lot like the AK-47 when it was introduced in Cold War, very similar with the 700 TTK for long range. So I think long range speaking, this is a good TTK. I think when you go a little bit longer, it can feel bullet spongy, even though I'm a fan of having to hit more shots, whatever. But in general, I think majority of the player base likes a good TTK that doesn't feel like you're instantly dying or squishy. And I think where it's at right now, RPK could maybe get a slight nerf. But besides that, I think we're in a good spot based off of how well the first year of Warzone felt and played in terms of long range TTK. But keeping in mind they had a one-shot sniper, which we don't really have in Warzone 2. When it comes to the close range TTK, we can see that this is significantly faster than what we had for a majority of the year. And a lot of these TTKs ended up being close to 600 by the time the end of Warzone 2 was happening. So this is dramatically faster when you're talking about an extra 50 to 60 milliseconds faster than what we had with the MP5, which stayed tried and true for such a long period of time. Even with the introduction of new weapons, new metas, different landscape, everything, that ended up being kind of where it was at. So based off of this alone, I would say that the close range TTK is a problem because it's just way too fast. Long range TTK, kind of think it's probably in a sweet spot. You could probably leave that one alone and adjust these so that the Fennec, the Lockman sub, and the Vaznev kill right around the same TTK, around 504, which was so good in the first year of Warzone. And for a lot of these, it would be as simple as changing this to 8 shots to kill. That might be a little bit too slow of a penalty there. We change this one to 8 shots to kill. Ends up being mostly perfect there with the Lockman sub. And then we go the Fennec, we drop that up to 10 shots to kill, not 20. We can end up with the TTK right around there. So they would still be more than likely the meta, but that extra bullet difference ends up creating a TTK that at least feels like you had a chance in the gunfight. And then it's not really who saw the other person first. Let me know your thoughts. Would you be open to these changes, or do you think it should just stay the way it is? If you show us support on the content, thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.